Hey, welcome to the closing beat, everybody. Gonna do this a little differently today. For some reason, YouTube doesn't want to stream our normal stream there. Sorry for that. So no graphics today. We're gonna do a raw one here. We'll just sort of dive right in and get things going. We're playing a game. It's called Guess the Dow, by the way. And every Friday we announce the winner. So you know, maybe we'll, man, I'm not going to have a way to really share anything with you guys today. This may be a short video, but I wanted to at least get something out to you there. Our game, Guess the Dow, we've got a winner. Of course, every Friday we announce the winner. Closest without going over wins the $100 gift card. Or if you're a customer, you want us to credit your account, we can do that for you as well. Our winner, although it was a lot of fun to watch this sort of back and forth there towards the end of the day, our winner is Jerry Newman. Mr. Jerry Newman guessed 2690943, and they were the closest without going over. Believe it or not, the next closest was a customer of ours, Mr. Chris Wood. He was 1.17% away, 1.17 points away from getting it there. So right down to the last second there. It was kind of cool to watch that there. But anyways, Jerry Newman's already been alerted that we're looking for his address. We'll send a gift card off to you. If you want to play, you go to jazzwealth.com/guessthedow, and you can play along if you'd like. All right, let's dive into the markets here today because, you know, it's going to be a little bit different of a Friday, maybe a shorter video. The Dow finished the day lower by about 0.6%. The NASDAQ got hit by 65 points. The S&P lost 14. A lot of that came pretty much right in the sort of early afternoon, right after lunch there, which is unfortunate. So China canceled this whole thing. They were going to go to Montana and Nebraska and everything, but it really wasn't actually scheduled. That was the thing. It wasn't like it was really going to happen. It was just a thought that never really got officially planned out. But this is a great lesson for how headlines affect the algorithms that trade. There was a headline that came out that said China cancels trip to Montana, packs their bags and returns home, or early, right? And so the algorithms read that as, uh-oh, bad news, trade-wise, sell, right? And that's unfortunate because, you know, that really was a misunderstood headline, and it wasn't like they were trying to diss us and, like, go back to China or something. Anyways, that algorithm, or the headline, caused the algorithms to push the markets into negative territory. We were basically higher on the day, but we finished lower. People were just content to take some money off the table going into the weekend. You also had S&P rebalancing today. Was that today? Today's the 20th? Yeah, I think today was the S&P rebalancing day. So a lot of extra volume towards the end of the day. If you were to actually look at the average volume today, much heavier, about 1.7 times average volume there. And that's the S&P rebalancing. What happens there, sort of the lesson, we can maybe do a few lessons today since I can't show you. What happens there is the S&P rebalances sort of the weighting, and because you have a lot of these bigger stocks buying back shares, that changes the balance. So they went in, they rebalanced. Also, you had CDW taking the place of TSS because they got bought out. Actually, that doesn't take place till next week, but you have that. Add to that, you have quadruple witching day, which you know, sounds like appropriate for getting close to Halloween, but quadruple witching day just means basically every option expired today. Whether it's stocks individually, like if you have options on like Apple or whatever it may be, you could have index options if you play that game. You could have futures options. You could have futures index options. So that whole group of options together all expires on the same day. Only happens a couple times a year, and so that just adds to the level of volume that you see towards the end of the day as people are shoring up those positions, both winners and losers, making sure they're not doing anything wrong into the weekend. So you have that. Also, it's been, well, tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow will be 1 year since we got rid of telecom as one of the sectors in the S&P, and we replaced it with communication services. Remember, that's when like Disney, Netflix, Facebook, Alphabet, they all moved over to communication services in an attempt to try to lower the weighting of the tech sector, because the tech sector is, well, it's still the heaviest weighting out there. Tech is still weighted at 22%, followed there by healthcare at 13.7, and I should have took notes today. Financials 13.1 is the current weighting, so kind of how the sectors break down. I might do a class on that for customers, because I don't think a lot of people get how the S&P sort of breaks down there. Anyways, overnight, if you follow the overnight markets, India was the bigger mover there. 5% gain on the day. It was the biggest move in like 10 years for them, biggest one-day move, because they had tax reform, their equivalent of tax reform. They lowered the corporate tax rate, effectively 25%. They lowered the, so they lowered the corporate tax rate, but if you're a newer company, they lowered it down to 15% or around 17% effectively. And so what happens there is now they're, I believe, a touch lower than Singapore. Right? So really, really going after this sort of growth in their markets. They're aggressive. And by the way, it was retroactive. So it actually retroactive to April, which, well, goes back about 5 months. So really cool there. They got a big pop overnight there. Couple stocks in the news, and I won't take much more of your time, I guess. Roku was in the news, so I'll look, you guys follow along. You got charts, right? If you're a customer, go into the dojo. You can follow along with me there. Roku lost about 20% on the day. There was a analyst, Pivot Research, I think it was called. And the analyst basically came out, new coverage on the stock. It wasn't like he's been covering this for a while. Comes out and says this stock's worth $60, right? And yesterday we covered kind of what the sort of negative news was there, or 2 days ago, was Comcast is actually giving their Netflix or Roku killer, right? They call it Flex or something like that, was actually going to be free to all Comcast internet subscribers. So it's direct and immediate competition to Roku. And so you've had a little bit of pressure over the past couple days, but today with an analyst coming out saying it's worth $60, that's pretty impressive there. There was also an Oppenheimer analyst that came out who raised his price target to 155. So that would have put it closer to highs. Nobody talked about that. Like, it didn't even matter what that guy said because Pivotal Research stole the focus today. With a $60 price target, keep in mind the stock was up 460-something percent. Well, it was. Now it's only up 250% year to date. But this is a monster mover. It's just taken a bit of a break. It's now down about 40% since hitting those highs. Actually, that's only 7, 8, 9. That's 10 days ago. So 10 days to lose 40%. There you go. Those are growth stocks for you. So pretty interesting there. Fitbit apparently is trying to keep it quiet, but put themselves up for sale. Stock was higher by 11% today. No news on really anything there. They're just shopping around to see if people could help them out if they did decide to sell their business. Reuters came out with that, and so that's that one. Xilinx held back the semiconductors today. Xilinx makes up like 3 or 4% of the SMH if you follow along. And so Xilinx lost their CFO. And you hear about this stuff, right? Here's another lesson for you. We'll just talk about it. We're just us hanging out today, right? We're just talking. So Xilinx lost their CFO. And put yourself in this CFO's position. Did I write his name down? Yeah, we did some research on this guy. Lorenzo Flores. Imagine if you're the CFO of Xilinx. Great company, right? I mean, so they have their ups and downs, but do pretty good there. $24.5 billion market cap, serious company, even if you've never heard of them. If you're the CFO and things are really good, do you just up and leave your job for other opportunities? No. Right? If you got it made at your job, then you don't leave. So the reason why the stock was lower today is because CFOs don't leave companies that are doing great. And so recently, Xilinx came out and said they were going to lower their growth expectations from like 23% last quarter down to 10% this quarter or whatever. And there's maybe a hint of some weakness there. We get it. Semiconductors struggled a little bit, trade sensitivity and all that stuff. But if you're a CFO and things are going well, you don't leave. And so just to sort of solidify that comment, we went back and we looked to see how much does the CFO get paid and how much does he get paid in stock or shares, options, right? So half of his salary comes from options. So if things are really that well and 50% of your salary comes from a good performing company, yeah, you don't leave. So stock lower today because basically, CFOs don't leave companies that are doing well, right? You don't hear that, right? Where's Roku's CFO? Right? He's still hanging in there. Well, for now. Anyways, so you got that one there. Apple was lower on the day. I think today was the first day that their products actually hit all the stores there. I saw Tim Cook in New York. They just remodeled their Manhattan store. It's like twice as big now, and I don't know. So he was there, and the new products launched there. Stock was still 1.5%. Apple typically goes lower on product announcements and product placements, meaning the first day that they're in there. Stock-wise, if you're following along, General Motors a little bit lower today. There's a plant in Ohio that's going to be going idle because of the negotiations between the UAW and the General Motors. Not going too well there. I'll cover a few other things here. Sorry about not having the graphics and all the fancy stuff today. 69% of the S&P is still above the 50-day moving average. We're ticking lower, right? We spent all of last week and the just about the week before, ticking higher up to 72%. We're down to 69%. Small pullback, right? Stock market's down, not a big deal. You kind of understand that. 20 new 52-week highs today, but almost half of them were utility stocks. So if you happen to look at the utilities, you could use like XLU or something, just incredibly strong. 100% of the utility stocks are above their 50-day moving average. If you use that as a sort of indication of momentum, you go, well, that's a pretty strong area of the market. A couple notable names there that hit new 52-week highs today. Dr. Horton, DHI. We talked about this yesterday. If you're interested in the home builders and sort of the correlation there to the home builder sector, we covered that in great detail, showing the different performance and everything, showing how Dr. Horton and Pulte Homes were actually some of the better performers. Did well, 1.4% today. Great lesson yesterday, I think, on that, if you want to see how those things work. Also, Dollar Tree, we pointed that out as a potential breakout earlier in the week and said, yeah, but it's extended, right? When a stock sort of uses all of its energy to get back to trying to break out. It's very rare that it breaks out and does so successfully. So if you're following along, you happen to look at Dollar Tree today, only the rookies got sucked into that breakout today. You guys would have avoided that based on our lessons, 3 days ago now? The stock needs to settle. You can copy that chart, paste it to the wall, and that's a great example of a stock that expended its energy to get just to the point where it could really attract traders, but no more energy. Everybody's already bought, so everybody got early to the game there. Stock did break to new highs today and then pulled back because of that. And I just think anytime I can point stuff out ahead of time and then follow through with it, it's awesome. Another one to follow up with, well, there's no new lows, by the way. So Altria finally has stopped making new lows. And so Altria up 1.7% today. Great lesson yesterday to show how that move lower. I even use the words wash out, the volume showing that the buyers were interested at these lows. It's as much as I can say without telling you the stock is bottoming. So if you watch yesterday's class, I went through that to show sort of the candlestick and everything. Today, you're getting follow-up on that. Nice little bounce, and it just sort of proves that yesterday's volume attracted buyers, and today people go, as they're scanning through their stocks last night, they go, yeah, look at that. I see buyers there, and they bought today. It helps some of the news that came out today as well. Anyways, moving on here, what do we have? Oh, Nielsen. That's one of our stat plays there. Let's see. It was supposed to fall over the next 5 days, 1.16%. Almost nearly hit that today. Today would be day one. So yesterday we talked about Nielsen. Statistically, when it's in the position that it's at over the next 5 days, it loses 1.16%. It fell 1.1% today, and I believe it closed on its lows. So it did close on its lows. So just a touch more to go there, and that statistical play will be over with. And I'll wrap it up with, Walmart. Walmart didn't really budge today, actually. Yeah, Walmart pretty much stayed still. Walmart's going to discontinue the sale of e-cigarettes. Congress is actually calling on the FDA to ban e-cigarettes. And I don't care where you stand on e-cigarettes and vaping and all that stuff. You do what you do, right? How do you just go banning that, but you don't ban cigarettes, or you don't ban pot, for example? Like, it kills me. We know cigarettes are bad. Right? There's new research. It's going to take decades to figure out how bad that stuff is for vaping. It can't be good. But no matter where you stand on that, I find it fascinating how the media can pounce on a subject and get things done. And if that's the case, then why aren't we focused? The tax that the Gold Star families have to pay, right? So if you have a spouse that's in the military, goes overseas, gets killed, right? You're entitled to Gold Star benefits, right? It's just part of your benefits for having a spouse that did that. That's amazing, right? So the fact that exists is one thing. Well, you guys may or may not know that there was a mistake in the latest tax reform bill that caused them to go from paying a tax on those benefits of like 12 or 15%, I don't know the exact number, to more than the most wealthy people on the planet pay in taxes, 37 or 38%. And yet Congress is like, we'll get to it. Quit bugging us. We'll get to it. We'll make it retroactive. Everything will be fine. But in the meantime, the people who supported, the very people that supported us and keep us safe around the whole world, and they gave their lives to do that, are paying 37-something% in taxes? Ridiculous. I can't believe that you can very quickly go, vaping, that's bad for you. But forget the very people out there fighting every day. That kills me. So it's a fascinating study on how what everybody's focused on gets the attention. I want you to keep that in mind, because when everybody focuses on a particular stock or a particular sector or the markets, and they get really worried or really excited, why are you really worried or really excited about a particular stock? It's because your attention has been pulled towards that area. So there's no doubt you've had the conversation, you've talked to people about vaping and everything, and either you're for it or against it, it doesn't matter. But you've had that conversation. Why are we having that conversation? That killed 4 people maybe that we know of, but yet 37%? That bugs me to death, man. I don't usually make this a whole talk about that, but because we're a little bit off today, we'll do that. Anyways, Monday you got 3 Fed members speaking, so get some attention there. You got Wayfair downgraded today. Etsy was upgraded today at RBC. McDonald's raised their dividend from $1.16 to $1.25. Awesome. We own that one there. Texas Instruments also raised their dividend to 90 cents, now about a 2.8 yield on Texas Instruments. We own that one. Good stuff there. That's basically all I have for you. I'm sorry we're a little bit late today. I'll take your questions if you have any, and we'll hope to have this all fixed by Monday. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, you played yourself some Ralph Lauren there, did you? Got a little bit of a bounce. A lot of the retail names were in the initial spike today. When I was scanning through all the S&P, a lot of retail names were up there. They did suffer towards the end of the day, but it happens. Thanks for bringing a goal. Yeah, this Sudsy's on the same thing there. And I get what they've done. Who cares about politics and all this stuff? It's just it was a mistake, and you can't just fix it. Come on. But yet we can ban e-cigarettes all in a spur of a moment. We can ban Huawei all in a spur of a moment. It's don't we have... Clearly that's a better thing to focus on. But I will stop that. Get on the soapbox, he says. Yeah, I'm not one of those people, but that one kills me. How does that not get everybody fired up? I don't know. All right, can we predict a sell-off like Roku today? High volume too. Well, so for Roku, it's hard to predict that kind of news. And it's hard to predict that people would respond that way to an analyst who's never even really covered the stock. But nonetheless, they do, and it brings light the potential issues going forward. So yes, they do have competition, but all that sort of action happened the other day. The fact that analysts have had a few days to cover it, they go, oh, wait a minute, this Comcast could really be a buzzkill for Roku. So that's a tough one. I would say I would have a hard time finding a way to be confident in any statistic on that one. So, yeah, that's a tough question. I hear you. Best car company to buy if you believe in electric car future. You might want to do some research over in China. There's over 500 electric car makers over there. But, they don't all make the cars. So you might want to research some of that. Careful on what you look at over there. But if you believe electric cars are the future, what's wrong with just participating in some of the companies like Ford, right? Why not be a part of that and research what they're doing and see if they're even going to compete? Porsche, look at Porsche the other day, huh? All electric, that thing was pretty cool. Something to look at. You're with me on wanting the markets to go. We have noticed a lot of drops in the S&P value and undervalue, nobody jumping in just yet. Yeah, it's seasonally supposed to be expected here. If it doesn't happen, I fear that we go through what we saw last year, where October, November, December were pretty brutal. But we'll see. Like I said, there's no real positive or negative catalyst to push us big in one way or the other. So the next move in the market will be because of some kind of news. It won't be, there's no earnings. We got none of that coming up. It's going to be news driven. There's no Fed meeting, right? We just really have nothing to go on. So whatever that next news announcement is, we're going to basically see how that kicks us in that direction. It'll be cool to watch. What is a risk-off market and are we in one? That's a fancy way of saying people just putting some cash on the sidelines, choosing to risk off in Roku, taking a little risk off the table. Maybe they're overexposed in some other tech stocks or whatever it may be. You see that a lot in sectors, right? If there's a sector that gets a little overheated, people say take the risk off and let their profits run. We covered that with utilities and REITs a little bit, where if you had $1,000, it grew to $2,000 because you invested in REITs, for example, as a sector. Well, taking your risk off would mean pulling back the 1,000 and letting the other 1,000 ride for whatever the goal may be. So it can be used in a couple different scenarios, but generally it's known as like take some of your exposure off going into an event or going into a holiday or whatever it may be. Yep. Do you think high interest savings banks will drop their rates again in light of the Fed announcement? Yes, I do think so. Actually, in the fine print, it says that they actually can do that. There's a lot of companies that use them as sort of teasers, and they hope to market to you and get you to buy other stuff from them. So it just means that they're going to eat a little bit more, which means the deals that they're offering over here are not going to be as good. Think about it that way. If they don't lower the rate, then they're getting rid of some other offering to try to make up the difference. It's kind of known as like a loss leader for some of the bigger companies out there right now. Mary says China's ahead of the U.S. in artificial intelligence. Do you know of any ETF that owns Chinese AI companies? You might look into Israel. Israel and AI is like seems to be like the next little breeding ground for AI, high-tech sort of things like that, software program. It just, look what McDonald's bought right out of Israel the other day. There's all kinds of cool news going on there. So I don't know enough about China to say that they are ahead or behind, but I think if you're looking for that ground floor sort of thing, Israel's just slowly stealing the spotlight. Yep. Oh, some of them are, yeah, Wealthfront, SoFi, they already did lower the rates. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, that was quick. I love it. Israel, yeah. Yeah, I love it. All right, well, again, sorry for not having the fancy stuff today. I'm not sure what happened or what's going on, but we'll diagnose it. We'll be back on Monday, ready to help you all over again. I hope you have a great weekend, and we had a great class last night on that data. I mean, it's something, if you're one of our customers and you didn't get a chance to come, just go in the dojo. It's the most current video that's posted there for you on the stats of what day of the week should you invest in versus if you invest over the month. And I got so many cool emails of how we could take that study going forward to really break it down even further, or break it down for people that are doing the lump sum versus monthly versus weekly, bi-weekly, and things like that. So you just signed me up for a whole bunch more work. Okay. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Hey, wait! Before you go watch one of our other great videos, have you had a chance to see our new Fin Tips videos? They focus on one topic at a time, covering investing, personal finance, and anything that can quickly help you with your dough. Best of all, we'll keep it real short, because we know time is money.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.